What does it really mean to be attractive? Not the kind that fades under harsh light or disappears with age. I'm talking about a different kind of magnetism, the kind that pulls people in without you ever needing to say a word. It's not found in expensive clothes, flawless skin, or a perfectly timed smile. No, true attractiveness goes far deeper. It's something you carry within. It's the quiet strength in how you hold yourself, the calm in your voice when others shout, the fire that burns in you not to impress the world, but to master yourself. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And in those few words, he captured a truth we often forget, that real power and real attractiveness starts on the inside. It's not about chasing attention. It's about becoming someone so grounded, so in control of yourself, that others can't help but feel it when you walk into a room. That's what this video's about. We're not here to talk about tricks or superficial charm. We're diving into the 7 habits that will make you more attractive. Not in the shallow sense, but in the way that truly matters. These habits are rooted in the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. They're habits forged in the fire of discipline, tempered by adversity, and refined through a commitment to purpose. And as we go through them together, I challenge you to ask yourself honestly, am I living in a way that commands quiet respect? Or have I been distracted by the noise, chasing validation instead of building true strength? Because attractiveness isn't about who notices you. It's about who feels your presence, even in silence. Let's begin. 1. Cultivate self-control, mastery over desires. Let's start with something simple, but not easy. Self-control. It sounds like discipline, like rules, like restriction. But in truth, it's the opposite. It's freedom. Think of a river. When it floods uncontrollably, it destroys everything in its path. Homes, crops, lives. But when it's guided, channeled through stone and earth, it brings life, energy, and nourishment to everything around it. That river is your mind, your emotions, your desires. Without self-control, they can turn destructive, pulling you into anger, greed, jealousy, indulgence. But with self-mastery, that same force becomes power, quiet, focused, transformative. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic emperors, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." And he was right. We often think the world needs to change for us to be calm. But what if calm was something you carried with you, no matter what happens outside? That's the heart of self-control. It doesn't mean pretending you don't feel tempted. It means knowing your triggers and choosing not to let them lead you. It means saying no when everything in you screams yes. It means pausing before you speak in anger, before you act out of impulse, and asking yourself, will this move me closer to who I want to become? You don't build this strength overnight. It's in the small moments. The moment you close your mouth instead of lashing out, the moment you skip that indulgence because you said you wouldn't, the moment you walk away when ego begs you to stay. And here's the truth. The person who governs themselves calmly, consistently, without needing applause, becomes magnetic. You feel it in their presence. You respect it. You trust it. So if you want to become truly attractive, not in a shallow, temporary way, but in a way that makes people stop and pay attention, start by mastering yourself. Because self-control isn't the absence of desire. It's the choice to rise above it. 2. Pursue wisdom relentlessly, the lifelong journey. There's something profoundly magnetic about a person who's always learning. Not the kind of learning that ends with a diploma, but the kind that says, I'm not done yet. I still have more to understand. About myself, about the world, about how to live. That's the second habit. Pursue wisdom relentlessly. See, wisdom isn't a final achievement. You don't wake up one day and say, I'm wise now. It's a way of walking through life with open eyes, a humble heart, and a curious mind. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, as long as you live, Keep learning how to live. Simple director. And yet, how often do we forget it? We chase status. We chase comfort. We chase validation. But how often do we chase wisdom? True wisdom shapes your character. It's in the books you read when no one's watching. It's in the hard conversations you don't run from. It's in the quiet moments when you reflect instead of react. And here's the beautiful irony. The more you learn, the more you realize how little you truly know. That humility, that deep understanding that you are a work in progress, is powerful. It makes you approachable, respectable, inspiring. People are drawn to those who ask questions, not because they want to look smart, but because they want to grow. So ask yourself, when was the last time you challenged your beliefs? When was the last time you learned something that made you uncomfortable and still leaned in? Wisdom isn't just knowledge. It's also emotional maturity. It's moral clarity. It's the ability to see through distractions and live by higher principles, even when no one's looking. And the people who do this, who commit to that path quietly and consistently, shine without even trying. You feel their depth. You sense their steadiness. If you want to become that kind of person, not just impressive, but deeply impactful, then never stop learning. Never stop refining. Never stop becoming, because the pursuit of wisdom is the pursuit of a better you. 3. Speak less, listen more. The wisdom of silence. Let me ask you something. When was the last time someone really listened to you? Not waiting for their turn to speak, not nodding just to appear polite, but truly, fully listening? In a world filled with noise, the rarest and most powerful presence is silence. That's why habit 3 is simple but transformative. Speak less, listen more. The Stoic philosopher Zeno of Citium, founder of Stoicism, once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, that we may listen more." It sounds obvious, maybe even a little too simple, but think about how much of our lives are spent trying to be heard, instead of trying to understand. In Stoicism, silence is more than just the absence of noise. It's a form of discipline. It's a statement of confidence. It's a way of showing the world that your value isn't dependent on how loud you can be, but how deeply you can connect. When you listen with full attention, something remarkable happens. People feel seen, heard, understood, and in that, trust is built. Real trust. Not the kind based on clever words, but the kind born from presence. And when you do choose to speak, your words carry weight. They're not filler. They're intentional, clear, grounded. The person who listens more than they speak is often the one everyone turns to for wisdom, not because they say the most, but because what they say matters. So if you want to stand out in a world addicted to volume, practice restraint. Let others talk, hear their meaning, not just their words. And when it's your turn, speak with calm purpose. There's a quiet magnetism in those who don't need to dominate a room to be respected. They don't chase attention. They earn admiration, not with noise, but with presence. Because true strength doesn't always speak. Sometimes it simply listens. 4. Embrace adversity, strength through trials. We all admire strength, but not the kind that shouts or flexes, not the kind that's built on ego or show. I'm talking about real strength, the kind that whispers and still holds its ground. And that strength, it doesn't show up when life is easy. It's forged in fire. Habit 4 is this: embrace adversity. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic minds, once said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." Think about that. No one becomes mentally strong by avoiding challenge. You don't develop grit by skating through life without resistance. You grow when things get hard, when you're tired, disappointed, maybe even heartbroken. And yet you keep going when you don't let your circumstances define your character. That's where real power is built. Look around. The people who carry quiet confidence, the ones others turn to in chaos. They didn't get that way by accident. They've been through things. And more importantly, they chose to face those things with courage instead of collapse. Here's a truth most people miss. Adversity is not your enemy. It's your training ground. You can either see challenges as unfair burdens or as the very thing that's shaping you into someone unshakable. Think back to a moment in your own life where you were tested. Maybe it was a loss, a betrayal, a failure. Now ask yourself, did it break you or did it build you? Stoicism teaches us that discomfort isn't something to fear. It's something to lean into. Because once you stop being afraid of struggle, you become someone no storm can move. And that kind of resilience, that grounded, calm presence under pressure, is rare, it's real, and it's incredibly attractive. So the next time life gets hard, and it will, don't just survive it, use it. Let it sharpen you, let it deepen you, let it reveal just how strong you really are. 5. Live with purpose. Align actions with values. Have you ever felt like you're just going through the motions? Waking up, working, scrolling, sleeping, but never really moving forward? That's not living. That's drifting. And when a person drifts long enough, they begin to feel lost. That's why habit 5 is essential. Live with purpose. Align your actions with your values. You see, without direction, even the strongest ship can't cross the ocean. But with purpose, even the smallest boat can sail through storms. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius put it plainly, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one." In other words, stop theorizing. Stop waiting for clarity to arrive on its own. Start living your values, right here, right now. Purpose isn't some grand mission you have to discover at the top of a mountain. Sometimes it's simply deciding to live with integrity, to do what matters, even when it's uncomfortable, to show up fully in your relationships, your work, your habits, with intention. Purpose brings clarity. It gives you a reason to say no to distractions and yes to growth. It draws people to you, not because you're loud, but because you're anchored. In a world full of noise, that kind of clarity is rare, and people notice it. But here's the truth. Living with purpose isn't easy. It demands introspection, the courage to ask, what do I truly believe in? What do I stand for? And even harder, it demands that your actions match those answers. That alignment is powerful, because when your values and your choices walk hand in hand, you don't just live, you lead. So if you feel lost, don't panic. Start small, define your values, then build your day around them. One choice at a time. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to walk in the direction of what matters. And in doing that, you become someone others look to, not for advice, but for example. 6. Detach from external validation. Freedom through independence. Let me ask you something. How much of what you do, the way you speak, dress, work, or post online, is influenced by the hope that someone else will notice? That someone will approve, applaud, or accept? If we're honest, most of us are more influenced than we'd like to admit. That's why habit 6 matters deeply. Detach from external validation and reclaim your freedom, because the more you crave applause, the more power you give away. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said it best. It is not things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. And one of the most dangerous judgments we make is believing that we need other people's approval in order to feel worthy. But here's the truth. The opinions of others, they change. They're inconsistent. They're often based more on their insecurities than on your reality. So why let your self-worth hang on something so fragile? When you live for likes, for compliments, for applause, you become a prisoner to the crowd. But when you live by your own principles, when you do what's right, not what's popular, you become unshakable. And ironically, That's when people are most drawn to you. Authenticity is magnetic. Self-respect is rare. And when you walk through life with quiet confidence, not needing approval, but staying true to who you are, people notice. Not because you asked them to, but because you didn't. So here's the challenge. Next time you make a choice, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this because it aligns with my values or because I want someone else to like me? Your answer will reveal everything, because the goal isn't to be liked by everyone. It's to be respected by yourself. That's real freedom. And that's the kind of independence Stoicism calls us to live by. Not just sometimes, but every day. 7. Practice compassion, strength, and kindness. When we think of strength, we often imagine something tough, unbending, cold, even intimidating. But what if I told you that real strength isn't harsh at all? That true power, the kind that lasts, is built on compassion. That's what habit 7 is all about. Practice compassion, because strength is not dominance, it's grace in motion. The Stoics never equated virtue with cruelty or apathy. They saw compassion not as a weakness, but as a quiet force that holds communities together, that gives depth to character and dignity to action. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive, to think, to enjoy, to love." He didn't say to win, to conquer, to outshine. He said to love. Because when we show compassion, when we truly see others, even in their flaws, we are tapping into one of the most attractive and magnetic traits a human being can possess: empathy. But let's be clear, compassion is not weakness. It's not about letting people walk all over you. It's about having the strength to respond rather than react, to choose mercy over revenge, to pause when judgment is easy and extend understanding instead. Think about it. In a world where so many are quick to mock, compete, or dismiss, how rare is it to find someone who listens, forgives, or offers help with no expectation in return? That kind of heart stands out, and people feel it, even if they can't explain why. Compassion doesn't make you less powerful. It reveals that your power is under control. It shows maturity, depth, and courage. Because it takes real strength to be kind when you could be cruel, to forgive when you could hold a grudge, to reach out when it would be easier to turn away. So today, practice grace, practice patience, choose to see the humanity in others, even when it's messy, especially when it's messy, because your kindness might just be the strongest thing someone else experiences all day. And in a noisy, selfish world, that's not just attractive, it's unforgettable. So here we are. We've talked about 7 habits, not flashy, not trendy, but timeless. Habits that, when practiced with consistency, don't just change how the world sees you, they change how you see yourself. Because real attractiveness isn't about perfection. It's not about having the perfect body, the right words, or the loudest voice. It's about the inner light you carry, the discipline, the calm, the presence, the depth. That quiet strength that doesn't need to prove anything, yet speaks louder than any performance ever could. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, then do what you have to do." That's your challenge. Not someday, not after things get easier. Now, right now is your moment to decide. Will you live with self-control or let impulse rule? Will you embrace challenges or hide from them? Will you act with compassion, speak with intention, and live with purpose? Or will you stay stuck in the patterns that keep you small, reactive, and disconnected from who you're capable of becoming? Because here's the truth. Every great transformation begins quietly, with a single deliberate choice. And each of these habits, they aren't just keys to becoming more attractive. They're the building blocks of a powerful, meaningful life. So if anything in this video spoke to you, don't let it fade into background noise. Start now. Start small. Start within. And if you're walking this path or ready to begin, you're not alone. Subscribe to The Still Stoic for more Stoic wisdom to guide your journey. Leave a comment below. Which habit are you focusing on right now? And share this with someone who might need a quiet reminder of their inner strength. Thank you for being here. Until next time, walk with clarity, act with courage, and let your presence speak before your words ever do.